People self-sabotage way before they reach their limits. This is about fear, not ability. My name's Michelle Weger. I'm a tech CEO, best-selling author, and productivity expert. I am known as the accessible high-performance expert. I help people and organizations to achieve exceptional results, even in imperfect situations and circumstances. Most people believe that high performance is limited to the 0.1%, the genetic super athletes, or the people who are born into super wealthy families. What I believe is that high performance is possible for absolutely everyone if they figure out the tools, systems, and motivations that work for them personally. I've built a company that has generated millions of dollars and helped hundreds of clients since its inception. Everything that I teach has been battle-tested in my own life over the last decade. And I do it all while managing a disability most people can't see. I had always been someone that aimed high, went for huge goals. I wanted to be a neurosurgeon. But when I was diagnosed with an incurable disability, my body stopped cooperating, and I had to find alternate ways to still achieve high results. And everything I teach today comes from what I've learned through the last decade of my life. Growing up, I was always doing little jobs, starting small businesses. It wasn't until I was in my early 20s that I started my business, a tech business. Unfortunately, I was also diagnosed with narcolepsy, which is a debilitating sleep-wake disorder, a disability. I didn't want anyone to know, so I kept it a secret for as long as I could, until one day I was outed at a public event. I thought that day would ruin my life, but instead, it was the beginning of so much more. I had been spending so much energy on hiding that once I was out in the open, I had that extra energy to spend on thriving. And the interesting thing about secrets is that everybody has one. And most of us are so busy hiding that secret that we can't thrive. When I was in my early 20s, I moved to a new city, and early on, I met my first friend. It felt just like when you're in elementary school and you go to the bus stop and you're wearing the same jeans, so now you're best friends. It was just like that. We were instantly friends. She was a little bit different, though, because she had this thing called narcolepsy, which would make her fall asleep all the time. And I had been struggling with this mystery sleepiness for about 5 years. So heck, we had something in common. And this friend, she kept telling me, Michelle, you have narcolepsy. Go get a sleep study. And I would say, no, you have narcolepsy. Stop projecting. And so she made a bet with me. She bet that if I went and had a sleep study and I didn't have narcolepsy, then she would buy every snack for every sleepover for the rest of our lives. We were 22. That's a lot of sleepovers. And I'm not an idiot, so I took this bet. But if she was right, then every time I tell this story for the rest of my life, I have to give credit to Rebecca Bodner for being the reason I was diagnosed with narcolepsy. Being someone who lives with an invisible disability, and particularly one where I will never have more than 40% of the energy of everyone else, means that simply grinding harder is not going to be the way to achieve great things in my life. And that's when I realized that if I did things a little bit differently, I could outperform my able-bodied peers. I had to change the model of how I was achieving things, but I could still achieve greatness to the same level, or in most cases, higher than what I otherwise would have been doing. Leadership that ignores human limits is fragile. Real leadership designs for them. The reason that people self-sabotage is about fear. Whether it's fear of failure or fear of success, we will self-sabotage before we fail as a way to protect ourselves. This behavior goes all the way back in our history to where we were living very tribally. And if we were kicked out of our group then, we would die. You would not survive the winter on your own. So that fear of being rejected is so central because all of us today, we evolved from the people who stayed in the cave. They were the ones who followed the rules. And I call these social fears because we're not going to die. We're not going to get hurt. The worst case is we would be embarrassed. And our brain treats embarrassment as dangerously as death. Imposter syndrome doesn't exist. Every person feels it. And if everyone feels it, how could it be a syndrome? It's simply part of being human. When you feel imposter syndrome, that's how you know you're on the right track because you're doing something that's making your brain feel scared, which means it's something that's helping you grow. I teach the DREAM method, which is the 5-step process to making any goal or dream happen. The steps are D for diagnose. Diagnose the fears in your way. R, role model. Find someone like you who's already done it. E, escalate with small steps. A, find allies to support you. And M, memorialize the success in physical form. The most powerful part of the process is the diagnose step, where individuals figure out what is actually standing in their way. It's almost always a fear of something. So we need to diagnose what that fear is, because rarely is it actually lack of time or money alone that's standing in the way of big dreams and progress happening. As an adult, when was the last time you got an award or ribbon for doing a good job? Probably been a while, right? We have to do these things for ourselves, and I call this memorializing. So when you're working towards a big goal, when you achieve it, it is vital that you buy, make, or create something that is physical that you can look at. So the next time you're going for something hard and you're struggling, you can look at that thing and go, right, I'm amazing. I'm someone who does hard things, and there's the proof. After speaking to a professional association, a young woman came up to me and asked if she could talk to me. And she pulled me all the way over to the corner. She was shaking as she said, I Googled you, and it doesn't seem like your dog, like it didn't ruin your life. And she quickly stumbled on to tell me that she had a secret service dog at home. She had a traumatic brain injury, and it was affecting her, but she had this dog that was helping her through her day-to-day tasks at home. But she was so afraid to tell her boss because she worked at a prestigious company and she was afraid that if her little secret got out, that she would be fired. But seeing me having a service dog and an invisible disability just like her, well, at the end of our time together, she told me that tomorrow she was bringing her dog to work for the first time ever. And a couple days later, I got a message in LinkedIn telling me she did it. And guess what? Nothing bad happened. Everything was just fear. And that fear was keeping her from playing in the arena where she deserved to be. And it's so interesting how you build up something, this massive fear in your head, and when you can share something with one person once, it becomes easier to talk about it again after that. My name's Michelle Weger, and if you want your audience to change the way they think, work, and lead, then book me for your next event at michelleweger.com.